Buy to let, thatched, commercial. We're your high street insurance brokers for all types of insurance. Avoid faceless internet firms.
High House Insurance, do it face to face.
See Neil and the friendly team at High Street Selsey.
High House Insurance, do it face to face.
Or call Selsey 606 552.
Hello, welcome to Selsey Internet Radio's Chat About. Our first port of call is Mike, who is going to fill us in on all the happenings that are going on in Selsey this week. Mike.
Hello, these are some of the things that will be available in Selsey in the week beginning April the 5th. Most of the things mentioned will be happening during the evenings. For instance, on Monday the 7th, the film club at the town hall will be available at 7:30 to watch the film Philomena. But there is a special matinee on the Monday afternoon as the children have broken up for Easter. At 2:30, the children's favourite called Frozen will be shown. This film club has proved very popular during the winter, and many have benefited from seeing some really good films locally. We're grateful for those who've organised it. Then between Wednesday and Saturday at the Academy School, the Selsey Choral and Operatic Society will be putting on Calamity Jane. It's proved a real favourite with lots of well-known songs, a cast of 40 ranging in age from 8 to 79, and tickets are still available. You'll be very welcome to go. On Thursday the 10th of April at 10:30 in St Peter's Church Hall, there's the last in a series of sessions on sensory art. This is for people in their senior years, just to engage in a couple of hours of very light-hearted art, painting and craft work under supervision, and all would be welcome. Finally, on Saturday, the 12th of April, between 9:30 and 12:30, the Friends of Selsey Medical Centre are putting on their spring fair at the town hall. We're very grateful for our medical practices and the facilities we have in Selsey, and this is an opportunity for us all to support fundraising for improvements in the future.
Mike, Selsey has such a rich heritage, some of which you mentioned when we were chatting earlier. Hello. Thea here once more, and I'm going to be chatting with Mike about the heritage of Selsey. Mike.
Good morning, Thea. Yeah, I've just come from a meeting with some folk connected with Selsey Cricket Club. Ruth Mariner, the town archivist, was present. With the help from other researchers, she's writing a history of Selsey Cricket Club. And it just reminded me of two things, I think. One is that references have been found that sort of go back to 1647.
Good Lord.
And some fascinating indications of isolated versions of cricket being played in the area. And I think it just came across to me how rich a history that the community of Selsey has, and those of us like me who've only come as sort of new incomers over the last 5 or 6 years need to be very appreciative of the history of Selsey, and particularly its nature as a fishing village and all that the fisher families kind of did to create our community. And also to recognise that something like a cricket club only has ever run when lots of people spent lots of hours volunteering, and that the fact that we have a thriving cricket club today, which will celebrate 180 years of official history with a celebratory day on June the 8th this year, when a booklet about the history of the club and an exhibition in honour of Sir Patrick Moore will be unveiled, that rich history has always been about volunteers, local people spending time creating something for others to enjoy. And I think I've just become again aware today of how rich a history we have and how many reasons we have to be grateful for those who shaped what we enjoy today.
Yeah, I think it's important we celebrate the past and the present, because there's an awful lot at the moment where people are doing much the same things as they did in 1600.
Yeah.
So is there anything in particular that's coming up where we can all get involved?
Yes, again, it's of interest. In the last few days, I've been chatting to some of our local shopkeepers and sort of cafe owners, and some of them are getting together to try on Sunday, June the 1st, to create a local day's events that will commemorate the 70th anniversary of D-Day. Clearly, many residents of Selsey will remember, many with personal experiences, the 6 years of the Second World War and all the sacrifice and dedication and work that was involved in those years. And so this day, when folk are hoping to hold maybe a street market and maybe a little parade, and just to encourage the community to be together, will create a little bit of wartime spirit maybe, and in remembering the past, make us grateful for the present. And although Selsey is no longer the village that it was 70 years ago, there's no reason why there can't be a kind of kindred spirit and a community spirit that will help people to do things for one another and to appreciate those who've gone before them and created what we have today.
I think Selsey is probably the very best place for doing that sort of thing, Mike. And I believe you mentioned there was something else that was going to be happening at the town hall?
Yes, I mean, this is something coming up at the end of this week, but it will be ongoing for a period of time. And I think this reminds me of how grateful we are for the help that sometimes comes into our town from people outside. In this case, it's a group of students from Chichester who are going to help us through interviews that they'll do and ideas that they will share in looking at the future of our community, particularly in terms of sort of commerce and tourism and those kind of essential economic things. And again, I think that reminded me that as we look to the future, building on things like the Selsey Community Plan, where people put together a number of priorities of things they'd like to see developing in the future, we have this constant layer upon layer of people who share vision and ideas, whether they do it through their work on the council or their work in the community or their work in our commercial sector. They are constantly looking to build a better place and a different place for the future, to make it a good place to live, and a safe place to live and an enjoyable place to come for holidays for the next generation.
Yes.
And that combination of looking gratefully to the past, but also looking to the future, I think is a wonderful combination, really.
Yes, and I think Sunday, June the 1st is a day that people should put in their diaries because they can get out there, enjoy it. With a bit of luck, we'll have some sun and we will all enjoy ourselves.
Absolutely. Actually, June is going to be a pretty whiz month because there's the D-Day event on the 1st, hopefully, and then on the 8th there's this community celebration day on the recreation ground for the cricket club's history.
Oh, excellent.
It should be a good beginning to we hope a lovely sunny month with long evenings and lots of enjoyment. Yes, indeed.
And I think your spirits are always lifted when June comes along.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Thea.
An interesting history lesson there. And what better to follow on than Hugh talking to Jill Jennings, who is going to tell us about the Medmerry site.
We've got Jill Jennings in and we're going to talk about the Medmerry realignment scheme.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so what actually is it, Jill?
Well, I have to say, when you invited me to come and talk about this, I did think, well, perhaps I'm not really qualified enough to talk about it, but I've looked it up and I knew the basis of what it was all about, and I've looked up and I've got some facts and figures. Basically, back, Medmerry stretch of coastline is most at risk of flooding, or had been most at risk of flooding in southern England. So following a lot of consultation, they recommended what they called a managed realignment as the preferred option. This was back in 2008.
Right.
There was a Pagham to East Head coastal defence strategy. And basically what that means is that they're building new defences inland from the coast, and so allowing what they call a new intertidal area to form seaward of the new defences. So basically, intertidal, what that means is when it's low tide, the land is all exposed, but when the high tide, the sea comes in.
So it's like a mini Pagham Harbour.
Yes,
then?
basically, it's the same as that. So what they did, they breached the existing shingle bank that was there, and created new sea walls.
Okay.
And some of the interesting facts and figures, it's quite amazing, really. It's 183 hectares. This new.
I have no idea what a hectare
Well,
is.
it's 300 football pitches.
It's true. Yeah.
So
Okay.
the whole area, that's what it relates to. And they've built 7 kilometres of new sea walls,
Right.
and which are 2 kilometres inland.
Uh-huh.
So basically, as you say, this has got this like a new harbour. And the sea was breached back in November. They started building in 2011, but last year was when they've actually breached it. So basically the scheme has almost finished in the sense that the sea defences are complete. The only bits that haven't been finished now are the new, they're going to be footpaths, bridleways and cycleways.
Right.
And those haven't been finished yet simply because the bad weather we've been having.
Sure.
And they haven't been able to complete that. The idea was the whole scheme was to protect over 300 houses. The water treatment works down at Ferry Corner and the main road. So at the same time as protecting basically Selsey, it was also going to create new sort of wildlife habitat and all these footpaths.
And has the wildlife become established?
It has. Apparently, while they were still constructing it, the birds were coming back and finding their way
Really?
there. Yes, and they've had seals there as well.
Yeah.
So yes, they say it has worked, and obviously you can imagine the storms and the weather we've had in the last few weeks and months. It was a good test, I have to say, and they say it did exactly what it was meant to do. So that is
That's
good news.
fantastic,
Good
isn't it?
news for Selsey, that's for sure.
So it will protect Selsey.
Yes, in essence, yes.
Okay.
While they were building it, the other interesting facts are that they found a lot of archaeological finds
Right.
going back to the Bronze Age, Neolithic times, Roman times, and all this pottery and even structures and houses from the Bronze Age have been found.
Really?
Yeah. So it's been quite an amazing scheme. It's the largest in the country. It's never been tried before.
Yeah.
So it's all eyes on Selsey really at the moment.
So what can the public do? Can the public walk around it now?
Will
they be able
They
to?
will be able to.
Yeah.
There will be footpaths, cycleways, and bridleways.
When do you think they'll be done?
They're working on them now. They're hoping they're all going to be done by the end of this season. Hopefully, some are being opened as they're being completed. So basically, during this coming season, there will be some access there, but by the end of this season.
So by next year, it'll
be fully operational.
It'll be a great place for kids to go
Yes.
out for the weekend.
Well, exactly, and when you think about it, we've got Pagham Harbour and we've got Medmerry. They're both going to be managed by the RSPB, the Royal Society of Protection for Birds, and basically 2 large nature reserves in our area.
Yeah. So it'll be a Twitcher's delight.
It will indeed. And as you say, it's going to be something for the families to come down and explore.
And it's a protection for our town.
So it's a win-win situation, as a lot of people are calling this.
Yeah. I suppose then, has this cost anybody anything?
Well, yes, Environment Agency have spent £28 million on it.
But it hasn't cost the Selsey ratepayers a penny.
No, this was central government Environment Agency. It was decided this was a coastal defence that was required, and they found the £28 million to do that for us.
Okay, well, I'm sure that you and I will walk around there before the end of the summer.
I would think so, yes.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Jill.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much.
That's lovely.
Thank you, Jill. Oh, sounds a wonderful place to visit. How lucky we are to have a rich heritage and also fascinating geology. Moving on, here's Giles to give some April gardening tips.
Giles Pereira back in the studio, and he's going to tell us what to do in our gardens for during the first week in April.
Oh, good afternoon, good evening. It's good time of year round about looking at things in the countryside and the garden. It's a month obviously of sunshine, showers and beautiful rainbows as a result, which are very prolific, especially around here.
Yeah, that's true.
Being Irish, we never find the leprechaun at the end, but we always hope.
Well, what about the bag of gold?
Yeah, well, that's what the leprechaun has, the bag of gold with him, yeah.
Okay.
But it hasn't happened. It's worth looking at, trying for. It's also a time nice look out for the swallows, swifts. House martins are all returning now.
Yeah.
House martins used to come to my house, but a couple of years ago they stopped, but they do that. I don't know about you. Do you have them? No.
No.
They're funny. They come to certain places.
We've actually got them under the roof at the church.
Oh, have you? Yeah. It's nice to have them about.
It is.
I'm quite disappointed they stopped coming the last 2 years. It's nice to hear the little ones, cheeping and all the rest of it.
Yes, it is.
But no, mine are not come back. And that's the other thing, of course, that we'll see out and about now are squirrels. They're starting to make an appearance.
Yeah, that's right.
After a long hibernation.
Yeah.
So we're now going into their stores,
Yeah.
finding all these nuts they've stored and whatever. Regarding in the garden, as well as buying plants for the coming months, it's worth thinking about. When I say plants, I mean trees, shrubs, whatever, for the coming months. If people are thinking of doing that, it's worth thinking about the winter flowering trees and shrubs, which are finished now. And if you go out and look and try, it's a good time to buy them. In fact, because in lots of garden centres and nurseries, wherever, the prices are reduced.
Yeah.
Because they finish flowering,
Uh-huh.
and you'll get good bargains. But obviously check very carefully if you buy that they're in very good condition all round.
Yeah.
But if you want some, say, winter flowering trees and shrubs, now's the time to go out and, think about it.
Okay.
The other thing is gladioli are very popular. They're very good to have, I think. They're worth having. Plant the corms about 4 to 6 inches deep in a free draining soil. And then as well as the longer, gladioli are quite tall, a lot of them, aren't they? They're quite tall. As well as the taller ones, there are some dainty species, sort of what I call more dainty species. Gladioli calianthus is one, which has white pendant flowers. Gladioli popilio is another one, which has small flushed with mauve flowers. They're very nice to have as well as the taller ones. Plant them in a sunny position.
Mm-hmm.
Stake the taller ones will need staking later on, and then they will actually carry on for months basically, and they're good for just for looking at, but for cutting for the for the house if you need them inside.
Sure.
The other thing now that we should mention is if people want to, this is the time now to start laying lawns and also repairing or replacing lawns.
Yeah, it's like my lawn, which is still full of moss.
Well, as I repeat it, I will say this again now because it's very relevant at this time. Apply a good spring moss, weed and feed.
Yeah.
When, if it should work, if you get a decent one, you'll notice that the moss is going a bit black, a lot of it, hopefully.
It does, yes.
Then after it's gone black for a while after that, scarify it and keep scarifying it to get out the black stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing we can do about it.
What about putting some seed down, Giles?
No, I wouldn't recommend that. No,
no,
not really. That well, when you've done all the scarifying and finished with all that, yes, by all means.
Yeah.
But not this time. No.
Okay.
Well, you could try putting some extra seed down after you've got rid of all you can of the black stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's died.
Yeah.
And then bang on a bit more seed. Yeah.
I've got some really bad patches in my grass.
Yeah, well, as I say, you want to get out there pretty quick now with your feed and weed. moss and whatever.
Right.
But get a decent product, because there's a lot of cut price ones that are useless.
Yeah.
Do go, get the top end.
Yeah. Okay.
If you really want to apply the job. When in little tips, just to finish, when people are obviously a lot of plants are being potted on at this time of year. They're going into bigger pots. When potting on, first push the old smaller pot into the compost in the new pot, and that will make a hole which is exactly the right size for the plants for the plant root ball of the ones that you're the smaller one.
Yep.
And then you just firm it in, obviously, with a bit of compost. But by doing that, you're getting exactly the right size for the one you're putting in there.
Yep. Okay.
I would say stop molehills, because they're starting to appear now. It does work sometimes, not always. Get some raw onion face down and place them on the hill, the opening of the hill. It does work. It does work sometimes. Not always. Depends on how many moles there are about, really. And that's it, I think, for the minute. I think that's enough to go on with for this week.
Okay.
There's plenty to do
I
there.
have never ever had moles in my
Well, you're lucky then. In a way, they're nice to have, unless provided they're not on the lawn.
Yeah.
It's actually quite nice, because I'm a wildlife lover myself. It's quite nice to have moles around, providing they're not in the wrong place.
Yeah, true.
But if they're anywhere else, no, fine. But you haven't had any around here, then.
No.
You never know. I suppose it depends on the area. I don't know if they're around this area.
Well, I've seen them on the golf course.
Yeah, you do.
When I've been walking the golf course.
Yeah.
No, they're down there, all right. So,
Yeah, well, they do.
I don't think they've disassociated themselves from this area.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought so. No, I doubt it.
I think moles are everywhere.
I think they're around. Yeah, I think they are. Yeah.
All right, John. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Giles. Now, the next piece I've been looking forward to. This is Hugh chatting with Lynn, who is about to reveal the secret of a perfect egg custard.
Okay, so it's April. We're talking about cooking, and I suppose it's Easter egg time and eggs and whatever. So, what do we know about eggs then, Lynn?
Well, they come from a chicken.
Well, I suppose that's true.
Well, we don't know which come first yet, do we?
No, that's very true.
No.
But
I can tell you this much, that about 1.2 million eggs are produced for eating every year. 1.2 million. And the average person on Earth consumes about 173 eggs a year.
Really?
Yes. I don't know what the average person on Saturn or Mars...
Oh, I love eggs. I like them scrambled, I like them in omelettes, I like them all sorts of ways.
All sorts of ways. So we're going to talk about all sorts of ways of doing eggs for the next couple
Well, hang
of
on,
weeks.
before we do that, where do you buy your eggs in the village?
Tuppenny rice.
I didn't know you sold eggs.
Oh yes, we sell eggs in the village.
Really?
Yes, we do.
Well, I suppose you don't have to pay for them then, do you?
Well, in the long run, yes I do, Hugh, yes I do. I don't think actually...
Hang on, just a minute. Do you think there's any... I've never bothered about buying free-range eggs.
No.
I just buy eggs.
No.
If they look nice, I buy it.
Eggs are eggs at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Eggs are eggs, aren't they? And an omelette tastes just as good with an ordinary egg as it does with a free-range egg. The only difference, I suppose, is morally for people, in the way that the chickens are kept sometimes today. So there isn't a moral issue there, perhaps. But the egg itself, no, there's no difference.
Okay. What are we going to talk about first then?
We're going to do just a couple of simple ones this week. We're going to make a nice egg custard and then some scrambled egg.
Right.
All right, so we're going to do
Now,
the two
hang on,
this
you're
week.
going to have to convince me about the egg custard, because I was brought up during the war and I hate custard. It was greasy, it was horrible, it was full of lumps, it was diabolical.
You're talking school custard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry to all those schools out there, but yeah, the old way that they used to do school custard was diabolical, I agree with you. I still used to love it though. I used to love
like it?
lumpy custard and lumpy semolina. Lumpy sago. I used to love all that.
Yeah.
But this is not a lumpy custard, this egg custard. It's very nice and it's quite light. So for your recipe, all right, for the ingredients, we just need 4 cups of milk.
Yeah. What sort of full cream or ordinary cream or what?
Semi-skimmed is always good. I always use, when I don't say it semi-skimmed, all right, I always use semi-skimmed milk.
Okay, right.
You want about 6 large eggs 2 to 3 cups of sugar. So if you've used 1 cup for the milk, use the same size cup for your sugar. All right. Half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and a pinch of ground nutmeg.
Okay.
All right. So you start by preheating your oven to 325 degrees.
Yeah.
Heat the milk in a large saucepan until the bubbles form around the edges. Not so that it's boiling, just so that the bubbles start to form around the edges. All right.
Okay.
Toss the eggs, sugar and salt in a blender and give it a couple of pulses until it's rich and smooth and creamy. And once the milk is hot, remove it from the stove top.
Yeah.
All right. Slowly add that milk into the eggs whilst whisking it quite hard. So whisking it quite vigorously. Add your milk into the eggs. And once the milk and eggs are combined, stir in the vanilla. Yummy. It is nice, honestly. Pour the custard mixture into about a 9-inch casserole dish, or a small custard cups if you like, because some people like to give them individually, these little ramekin cups. And sprinkle with freshly grated nutmeg. Place it in a large roasting pan and fill the pan with enough water to reach about 1 inch from the casserole dish. All right?
Okay, yeah.
So then you put your dishes in. Bake for about 45 minutes until the custard has just set.
Yeah.
You don't want it set solidly because it will go on cooking a little bit.
Yeah.
All right? Be careful not to overcook it. Cool it before serving. Some people like the cold custard, but I like mine a little bit warm, so yummy. I like to stick it in the microwave and just have it slightly warm before I have it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your simple.
Oh, that's delicious, is it?
It's really lovely. It is
All
really
right,
lovely.
I'm going to get Margie to make this for me.
Yeah. A little bit of nutmeg on the top. Wonderful little meal. Wonderful little dessert.
Well, thanks a lot, Lynn.
Thank you.
What are we going to do next week?
Well, actually, we're going to do scrambled eggs.
Oh, all right then. Okay. I love scrambled eggs.
Yummy. A thought did occur to me. Will Hugh get his just desserts? That is the question. And lastly, I have a short anecdote entitled, You Couldn't Make It Up. Not many people can claim to have been knocked down by an ambulance. I, however, can. It was a snowy winter's evening, just before Christmas 1964. I was hurrying home from work, or rather when I say hurrying, it was more a slip and a slide. Luckily, the lights were on down the long tree-lined avenue that I had to traverse to reach my parents' humble abode. Being young and full of Christmas cheer, not to mention the generously filled glasses of mulled wine our boss had so thoughtfully provided, with his wife's homemade mince pies, these were inedible due to the fact that they were as hard as concrete, so were not unnaturally secretly hidden in our handbags. Feeling happy and looking forward to Christmas Day, I started to sing carols as I made my winding way past the second to last tree, an old rowan covered with masses of berries still. I stopped to admire its beauty, then with a twirl, delighting in that special silence that a thick covering of snow brings, I danced out into the road at the same time as the ambulance turned into the avenue. Have I died and gone to heaven? Was my first thought. No, that can't be. Surely heaven is warm, but I'm rather cold. Oh, I shiver. Something warm is being wrapped around me. Don't try and move. A deep male voice glides into my consciousness, and I open my eyes to be met by the bluest eyes outside of heaven. A young man was bending over me. He wore some sort of uniform, and his face, well, it was the most beautiful face I have ever seen, although just now it was full of concern. What's happened here? Someone else had joined us, and the vicar from the nearby church was also gazing down at me. Oh, she came dancing out from behind a tree. I braked, but what with the ice, we skidded and just caught her. It was only a glancing blow, but enough to send her flying. Well, hadn't you better get into the ambulance out of the cold? And where's your partner? Well, I just dropped him off. I was on my way to the station, but I can't move her on my own. But perhaps you could help? Well, I do have a first aid certificate. I'll just check for broken bones. By now I was fully compos mentis, and I was still admiring the young man's beauty, thinking that maybe I was in heaven after all, and the vicar had come to introduce me to St. Peter. The beautiful one knelt beside me and spoke gently with that low voice that is so attractive in men. "Where does it hurt? Can you move your legs?" And so it went until he was satisfied that I had suffered no serious injury. He gently lifted me up whilst the vicar suddenly became redundant as we gazed into each other's eyes. So that, my dear friends, is how my husband and I first met, and we are still together after 50 years. Eyes may have faded, joints become creaky, but it would take a pair of pliers to break us apart. Well, that's all for this week, folks. Thank you for listening, and please do join us again. Goodbye from all of us.